Hello all. The topics to be discussed in this session are different phases of OR study, scope of OR, advantages and limitations of OR. The procedure for an OR study generally involves the following major phases. Phase 1, formulate the problem. Problem must be formulated in the form of an appropriate model before proceeding to find the solution. Some points to be noted during this phase of study are: objectives are defined, range of controllable variables are identified, uncontrollable variables that may cause damage are identified, restrictions or constraints are understood, nature or condition of variables is defined. This phase is very important because any wrong analysis done at this stage would replicate wrong decisions and results. Phase 2, constructing a mathematical model. This phase is concerned with the reformulation of the problem in an appropriate form which is convenient for analysis. Most suitable form is mathematical model, and it should include the three basic factors. First factor is decision variables and their relationship. The decision variables refer to candidates like products, services, projects, etc., that are competing with one another for sharing the given limited resources. The relationship among these variables should be linear. Next factor is constraints. There are always limitations on the resources which are to be allocated among various competing activities. These resources may be production capacity, manpower, time, space, or machinery. These must be capable of being expressed as linear equalities or inequalities in terms of decision variables. Last factor is objective function. The linear programming problem must have a well-defined objective function for optimization. For example, maximization of profits or minimization of costs or total elapsed time of the system being studied. It should be expressed as linear function of decision variables. Phase 3, deriving the solution from the model. In this phase, the computation of values of decision variables that maximize or minimize the objective function are computed. Such solution is called optimal solution. Phase 4, testing the model and its solution. After completion, model must be tested for errors if any. A model may be said to be valid if it can provide a reliable prediction of the system's performance. A model can be updated time to time by taking into account the past, present, and future specifications of the problem. Phase 5, controlling the solution. This phase establishes controls over the solution with any degree of satisfaction. The model requires modification when the controlled variables change significantly. As the conditions are changing in the world, the model and solution may not remain valid for a long time. Phase 6, implementation of the solution. Finally, the tested results of the model are implemented to work. This phase requires the coordination of operation research experts and people who are managing and operating the system. Scope of OR. OR has solved successfully many cases of research for military, the government, and industry. There is a great scope for economists, statisticians, administrators, politicians, and technicians working in a team to solve the problems by an OR approach. OR finds its applications in various fields. First, we'll take up field of agriculture. With the explosion of population and consequent shortage of food, war problems can be used for the optimum allocation of land to various crops according to climatic conditions, optimum distribution of water from various sources like canal for irrigation purposes. In finance, it is necessary for the government to have a careful planning for the economic development of the country. War techniques can be applied to maximize the per capita income with minimum resources, to find out the profit plan for the company, to determine the best replacement policies. In industry, war is useful in deciding optimum allocation of various resources such as men, machines, material, money, time, etc. to arrive at the optimum decision. In marketing, with the help of war techniques, the marketing administrator can decide how to distribute products for sale by minimizing the transportation cost, amount of stock to meet the future demand, how to select best advertising media with respect to time and cost, how, when, and what to purchase at the minimum possible cost. In personal management, a personal manager can use the OR techniques to appoint the suitable persons on minimum salary, to determine the best age of retirement for the employees, to find out the number of persons to be appointed when the workload is not continuous. In production management, a production manager can use the OR techniques to find out the number and size of items to be purchased, in scheduling and sequencing the production run by proper allocation of machinery, in calculating the optimal product mix, to select, locate, and design the sites for the production plants. In LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, war approaches enable the LIC officers to decide what should be the premium rates for the various modes of policies, how best the profits could be distributed in the case of with profit policies. Advantages of operations research. First one, provides better strategies. The core idea of operations research is to provide a better means of economics in business operations. This is done by better decision making and choosing right strategies. Managers have better decision making systems with the use of operations research. War technique improves yields of business and decreases costs. Operations research can be applied to any field of operations like transportation, warehouse, production management, assignment of jobs, etc. Fundamentally, war is purely scientific model. Any war model is put to implement after various considerations and subjected to testing. The results obtained from it is realistic in terms rather than simple predictions. Operations research clearly defines controllable and uncontrollable variables in its operations and are applied to any situations. Other notable advantages are rise in production or productivity, understand anomalies in business operations, better control of business operations, helps managers to take better decisions, helps to improve organizational products and services. Next topic is limitations of operations research. In that first one is dependence on an electronic computer. War techniques try to find out an optimal solution by taking into account all the factors. In the modern society, these factors are enormous and expressing them in quantity and establishing relationships among these require voluminous calculations that can only be handled by computers. Non-quantifiable factors. OR techniques provide a solution only when all the elements related to a problem can be quantified. All relevant variables do not lend themselves to quantification. Factors that cannot be quantified find no place in OR models. Distance between manager and operations researcher. OR being specialist's job requires a mathematician or a statistician who might not be aware of the business problems. Similarly, a manager fails to understand the complex working of OR. Thus, there is a gap between the two. Money and time costs. When the basic data are subjected to frequent changes, incorporating them into the OR models is a costly affair. Moreover, a fairly good solution at present may be more desirable than a perfect OR solution available after some time. Implementation. Implementation of decisions is a delicate task. It must take into account the complexities of human relations and behavior. Thank you.